One of the most, in my opinion, expected things to come out of the Nintendo Switch 2 Direct was the inclusion of GameCube games to the Nintendo Switch Online service. The retitle for Nintendo Classics, that was kind of new, you know, so that's kind of cool, but now, hey, GameCube games are going to be here, hooray, that's awesome. Wind Waker feels like a little bit of a smack in the face because I've been wanting the HD game to get ported over for so long, but you know what, Wind Waker is Wind Waker, I'll take it. Having Soul Calibur there, like that's the true gem. Online Soul Calibur in the year 2025, that's official, that's pretty sick. F-Zero's there too. Cool. I'm there for Soul Calibur and Wind Waker day one for sure. So then, of course, probably like everybody else, I had my mind racing as to what else I would like to see on the GameCube service, because it's not just a matter of having games accessible for the first time in a long time, but online multiplayer. There's a lot of good multiplayer content on this console, so I came up with a list of 10 games I would like to see on the service, 5 of them that are solely for single player that I just want to play through again on the Switch family of systems, and 5 that I really want to experience multiplayer online because I think that's going to be really damn cool, so let's get into it. To coincide with all of the hype of Donkey Kong Bonanza, I really think it'd be cool to see Donkey Kong Jungle Beat get a port onto the service. Now at first glance, you may think that'd be too hard of a task because the game had a weird bongo controller that was packed in with it. You can't easily play the game with a normal GameCube controller, I get that, but you take a look at something like Kirby Tilt and Tumble, they went ahead and modified the game to make it work with the Switch's architecture. It's not out of the realm of possibility that they make this just a regular 2D platformer now with regular controls, and I think that'd be pretty sick. There is the version of the game that's on the Wii with the new Play Control moniker, and that's cool, but unless we're gonna wait however many years until the Wii Nintendo Classics app comes out, I think this is the next best thing. I think this game could totally fit on the service. And it would be cool for a vast majority of people who maybe are riding the high of Donkey Kong Bonanza to play another 2D platformer in this franchise that's not a DK Country game. Jungle Beat was made by the Super Mario Galaxy team right before Galaxy. And honestly, if Bonanza is done by the Odyssey team, you know, that kind of back and forth with DK and Mario, it's kind of poetic. Like everything seems to be pointing to Jungle Beat having some appearance on the Switch. Could obviously get like a port, like a proper port in the future, but this to me seems like an easy gold mine. You put Jungle Beat on NSO like a month after Bonanza, you're golden. You're a golden banana. While many of the Star Fox games out there are just kind of remakes of the original game on Super Nintendo, Star Fox Assault in particular, I think is the unsung hero of this franchise. This was a pretty ambitious title here that still kind of made sense in the confines of what a Star Fox game should be. Star Fox Adventures could show up too, but that's like a weird Zelda game, and it's like with the dialogue is weird. Like, no, we don't gotta do that, you know? Star Fox Assault is a really nice, densely packed, few-hour-long adventure that has really fun airship combat and also really fun on-ground combat. I think the art style is really cool, I think the voice acting is solid, the storyline's actually not all that bad, all things considered, and there's a solid multiplayer mode in here too. Like, you can think whatever you want about there being a Star Fox game with on-ground controls, maybe you'd argue a Star Fox game doesn't need that, but it does lend to some really good multiplayer nights, so Star Fox Assault on NSO, that'd be sick. And unless we get like a new Star Fox game, they're definitely not going to port Star Fox Zero. This has the potential to be like the only Star Fox representation on this console, so you should take what you can get, I suppose. Now, since on the Game Boy Advance app, Nintendo already ported over the Starfy games, which never left Japan, and the first Kururin game, which never released in America, I think it makes sense to have Kururin Squash show up on the app, because this is a game that barely anybody has ever gotten to play outside of Japan, and as someone who has played it, I gotta tell you, it's pretty good. All of the Kururin games are very similar in structure. You play as this little spinning ship, there's a little bird in it, and he's really cute and adorable, hooray. But these games are actually pretty challenging because the ship is ever turning, and trying to figure out how to navigate these maps, you know, it can be kind of stressful the further on you get into the game. It's pretty fun. But Squash in particular is really cool because for one, you have full 360-degree analog control, which obviously the Game Boy Advance games didn't have, so it feels really good to play. Plus they added like a bunch of new power-ups and stuff, and a bunch of new level gimmicks. Like, it's quite a wide departure from the original Kururin games, which are just basic levels that you have to go through. There really aren't many import-exclusive GameCube games that I think are worth the trouble of them porting over to the Nintendo Classics GameCube app, like Nintendo Puzzle Collection. That's kinda neat, but I really can't see them doing that. Kururin Squash would be the perfect example of a Japanese-only GameCube game. It'd be a perfect fit. Battalion Wars, I'm gonna be honest, I just want to see this franchise show up again. It's not totally out of the realm of possibility. We did get an Advance Wars remake on the Switch, and that game was pretty cool. You know, it was marred by a bunch of delays due to world events, and that was unfortunate, but it did come out. And I have a feeling that based on those world events, Nintendo wouldn't want to embrace this franchise anymore, and Battalion Wars is part of the franchise technically, but I really hope they do, because I thought this sort of take on a playful action war scenario was pretty solid. The characters are pretty endearing, had a really cute art style. I thought the game's played pretty well. The only real downside to it is there's no multiplayer in it, even though it feels like the perfect fit for multiplayer. The sequel on the Wii, Battalion Wars 2, aka Battalion Wars Wii, aka BWii, as everyone called it, had multiplayer that was online and was really fun. Not here, so that's unfortunate, but it would still be cool to see this game get a bit of a spotlight once again, even if they plan on never doing anything with it ever again. You already have the ROM, Nintendo, just throw it up there. Just make a quick trailer for it and throw it up there, I'll be happy, and maybe like one other person, so yeah, that'd be cool. Now this is probably the closest one that seems like an impossibility, but I think the original Animal Crossing showing up in the app actually kind of makes sense if they release it before a new Animal Crossing game shows up. But it does kind of feel like it's in the same spot as Smash Bros. Melee, where they focus so much energy on the new one that maybe they don't want to have the old one out there ready to go. But any hardcore Animal Crossing fan will tell you that everything that has been post the GameCube game is such a departure from that original title that it would be really cool to go back to just how basic and archaic that original formula was. The grid-based structure to the maps, the fact that the villagers are a whole lot meaner to you. You get these really outdated mechanics, like if you want to get a fossil checked out, you gotta mail it in and then wait for the next day to find out what it was, like, is crazy. So I think having it in this app is the perfect outcome, because I don't see them like trying to justify spending money on a remake of the GameCube game specifically, because it's really outdated. But as a part of this service, they get to flex some coding muscle by having it work with the actual clock of the Switch. You can do that with the GameCube game, so why not? I think it'd be a cool addition. Until they release like a proper new Animal Crossing game that outshines it completely, but until then, that'd be cool. But, you know, realistically, it's probably gonna be like Melee, where they just never really talk about it, ever. Even though it makes perfect sense, but, you know. I know there's probably a lot of people going, but oh, what about the NES games that are built in there? I mean, listen, okay? Nintendo should know how to ROM hack their own games, okay? Just take them out or something, or just put the games that are already available on the NES app, okay? If you have the expansion pack and can play this GameCube game, you already have access to the NES games, it won't matter. I just want the Animal Crossing game where the villagers are mean to me, okay? Whatever, let's talk about multiplayer games now. With online multiplayer being one of the most exciting features about Nintendo Classics even being a thing, my mind immediately went to TimeSplitters 2 for the GameCube showing up on this service, and the only reason why it doesn't seem like an impossibility to me is because TimeSplitters for PS2 actually showed up on the PlayStation Network not too long ago for PS4 and PS5, so very clearly there was a bit of an interest in re-releasing those old titles. So if you have those games on Switch 2 and you can play TimeSplitters 2 in the current day with online play, that would be so sick, because TimeSplitters 2 is so good. As someone who grew up with the GoldenEye 007 for the 64, and honestly, I'm not even that big of a fan of that game, TimeSplitters 2 harnesses the vibes that I feel like people who talk about GoldenEye 007 really want, like just a bunch of wacky characters and really fun, frantic gameplay. Despite it being online, it would obviously still be split screen because it's an old game, and being able to screen cheat with your buddies online sounds like so much fun. And it would be an extra plus on top of the PlayStation version, because there's no online play for those ports, but there would be for this one. That'd be sick. I would be there immediately. Now, of course, if they wanted to, they can also include the first one. There's also Future Perfect, and those fine and dandy. They'll obviously probably do the first one first, but I want TimeSplitters 2, damn it. Mario Baseball is awesome, dude. Like, Mario Baseball is such a fun little arcadey baseball game that just having access to this again with the normal baseball mode, the story mode, the wacky, I forget the name of it, but like the arcade party baseball mode that was in there too. The cast of characters was all over the place because you had to have so many characters on the team. I think Mario Baseball, they just knocked it out of the park, which is a very appropriate pun with this game, and I actually do like it more than the Wii version. And since Mario Strikers is showing up on the service, despite having a botched Switch version and also having a Wii version that I do not prefer, I think having Mario Superstar Baseball would be great. I'm sure at some point they'll make a brand new one, and who knows, at this point it's gonna be just a random coin flip as to whether or not it's going to be good or bad. But if we can rely on the GameCube version to be there when times are tough, then I'll be happy. This of course applies to Mario Golf Toadstool Tour and Mario Power Tennis, but specifically I want baseball because it's been far too long since a new baseball game. If we need just the old one to get by, I'll take it. On the topic of Mario, I think it's very likely that we'll see the remaining Mario Party games on the service, at least the GameCube ones, so we have 4 through 7. Specifically, I want Mario Party 6. I believe that is the best one. The day-night cycle makes perfect sense here. They made the boards work with it, they made the minigames work with it. It's such a fun idea. I like the new characters a whole lot. Minigames are a ton of fun. And something I didn't realize for a little bit, one thing that's interesting with Mario Party 6 and 7 specifically, if you remember, they released with the microphone accessory, and they made a point to say, hey, the Switch 2 is going to have a microphone built in. So it could very much be like a Kirby tilt and tumble kind of idea, where because the Switch's architecture includes something that they could use for an older game, I could see 6 and 7, despite the microphone minigames being not fun, I could see that being a thing where they don't need to worry about it now. There will be a microphone. You can disable the setting when you go into the menu just fine, and you will be all good. Because, oh my god, playing the microphone games with online and maybe the game not picking up everything you're saying sounds like a nightmare, but you know what? Having the rest of Mario Party 6 would be worth it. We already got 1, 2, and 3. Let's get 4, 5, 6, and 7, or you can just jump right to 6. I will not mind that whatsoever. It's funny, recently I was actually at a get-together and I pulled up WarioWare Mega Party Games, so this is still a very relevant party game in my opinion. It is so much fun. Like on the surface, yeah, it is like just this weird console port of just the Game Boy Advance game, but everything around the basic port, especially with the multiplayer modes, dude, it's so much fun. The whole idea with like the dozen-ish different modes here is like, okay, you get to play the Game Boy Advance game against someone else and maybe see if you're better, but also your entire goal is to screw over your buddies by any means necessary. You can block the screen, you can mess with the game's speed, like there's that weird doctor mode where they say, hey, you gotta do this game by also jumping on one foot, and then someone else who's watching you do it has to verify whether or not you actually did the action in real life. It's weird. It's a weird cavalcade of minigames, but if we're specifically talking about what games could be really good multiplayer opportunities for this console, WarioWare Mega Party Games deserves it, especially since one of the games that's actually not going to be compatible with the Switch 2 is WarioWare Move It, because you have a bunch of games that use the IR camera that's only available on the Switch 1 Joy-Cons. Maybe this could be a decent substitute by having a WarioWare game with really fun multiplayer, huh? I mean, I still want Move It, but this would be cool too. And also, considering 9Volt's multiplayer game is all e-reader focused, it would just be funny to see Nintendo acknowledge the e-reader in 2025 and beyond. That would just be kind of funny, because man, what a stupid device that was. So if you were to ask me, and I wasn't to think about this for a while, if I wanted Sonic Adventure 2 Battle to show up on the GameCube service, I would go no, I would kind of prefer like the more modern port that's widescreen and whatnot, but then someone said to me, but what about the multiplayer that you can play online? And then I was sold immediately. Having Sonic Adventure 2 on the Switch, like it's already mind-boggling to me that the Switch never received the HD port of Sonic Adventure 2, and if we never get that, if that's just never in the cards for this family of consoles, having the GameCube port to have online play, that is the next best thing, because the multiplayer modes in Sonic Adventure 2, I think are really fun. Because say what you will about having different character types with the Tails and the mech stuff and the emerald hunting with Knuckles, doing that stuff competitively changes the entire dynamic. Racing with Sonic and Shadow and you have Metal Sonic in there as an option as well as Amy, doing this head-to-head shooting each other like crazy with the mechs and then racing to find the emeralds is so much more enjoyable than just trying to do it yourself. Obviously having the campaign would be really cool, but I would take so much advantage of being able to play Sonic Adventure 2 online, and then the Chow Garden will be there too, so that's cool. But the online, I want the battle stuff. Sonic Adventure 2 is cool, I want the battle stuff here, okay? And that kind of goes for like Sonic Heroes and even Shadow the Hedgehog. Like having those games being ported over would be so sick just for the multiplayer alone. I don't need the single player, honestly, I just want the multiplayer. I've done the single player of Shadow the Hedgehog more than I ever wanted to admit. It's time for a change. It's time to go hard on the multiplayer mode. So there we go, those are the 10 games that immediately came to mind with what I want to see on the Nintendo Switch Online Nintendo Classics GameCube app, and obviously there are more games that are more likely to make the jump over, like Wario World probably makes more sense than WarioWare Mega Party Games. Obviously Mario Kart Double Dash can show up. If Wind Waker's showing up, then that means probably Twilight Princess is going to show up. You know they're not going to do Four Swords Adventures because that game needs the Game Boy Advance to fully capitalize on the 4-player, so I don't see that happening. And I guess Eternal Darkness would be cool too. I'm really just rambling on a bunch of games now, but those are the primary 10. If we get half of those games by the end of this year, I will be very happy. And I want to know down below what you want to see coming out on the Nintendo Switch Online Nintendo Classics GameCube app. It's a very long title, but there's some good potential there. Maybe you want Cars, Maybe someone out there said he could get that partnership going, Nintendo, and we can get Cars on the service. It's not going to be me saying it, but maybe it's you.